Alright, welcome back to another Deba Daily YouTube video, everybody. So, patch notes came out, technically yesterday. I'm recording this at like 4 a.m. because that's when I'm awake. Uh, I'm a little late to the party, but I still want to give my thoughts on some things, which I already have on Twitter a little bit. A couple things I'm not, biggest fan of. You'll see those things. First off, generators. So I'm not going to read this verbatim because that would make this video way too long and I can't talk as fast as Ots did. So going forward, generators can only have 8 states of regression. So basically anything that regresses a perk can only work 8 times on a single gen. That means you can only get 8 uses at a pop on a single gen. You can only kick a gen 8 times. I don't know how Jolt's going to work with this, but yeah. Now, what they're also doing to kind of compensate for this, base kicking is getting increased to 5% from 2.5. That's double. And the survivors have to, they can't just tap the gen to start progressing again. They have to basically undo that 5% you did first before it starts going again, which is a nice change. That's just a kind of slight quality of life thing, because there's a lot of times when I'll like kick a gen, I'll leave for a second, and then a survivor will just come by and just tap it, and then run the other way, and then I'll start chasing them, and all I don't know. There's a lot of situations. I can't think of any off the top of my head, honestly, if I'm honestly speaking, but there's a lot of situations where I can see this being useful. Do I think this will fix 3-genning? Yes. Kind of. Maybe. The biggest thing with this I think it's going to do, apart from 3-genning, is, and we'll actually get into that once we get to Grim Embrace, is I think gen regression will be relevant for sure, but I think gen blocking is going to become more of what we see. I think Deadlock is definitely going to get picked more, even though it's already picked a lot. I think Grim Embrace is actually going to become a meta perk now, just saying. Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. Dead Man Switch will probably become meta again. I don't know if Thrilling Tremors will, even though personally I think Thrilling Tremors is really underrated at the moment. It's great information, and it can slow the game down in the right circumstances. And it can't be countered by anything, so yay. Next is the FOV. Just a good change. Now, I'm a Chucky player, and I need to make this very clear about the FOV slider. One, it's going to the max, so 103 will be what the FOV is now with Shadowborn. However, this does not affect Survivor's FOV, and it does not affect Chucky's FOV. It says third-person killers in here, but there's only one. I really don't know why they keep... Just say it only affects first person. Just say that. Whatever. Anyways, good change. I'm probably not going to notice it much, personally. I'm not a fan of having my FOV increased in this game, because I feel faster than I am, and it's always been one of those things where I didn't want to rely on it from Shadowborn. But now that it's base kit, I might use it quite a bit. I'm curious how this is going to interact with certain with Singularity is actually the one I'm really curious about, because I don't know if it'll affect his bipods or not. That would be very interesting to see. I also think this is a shadow buff to a lot of the range killers. Having a higher FOV on anyone who's ranged is actually a big deal. Not a super big deal. It's not like going to make them like super S tier or anything, but Deathslinger, Trickster, and Huntress are probably going to enjoy this more than most killers. But to everyone who experiences motion sickness because of FOV, I hope this is enough. I hope this helps. I really do. Onryo. So I could read every single thing here. I'm not going to. If you want to, I'll leave it up right now. And as I'm talking over it, you can just pause the video and read it. But basically, they're reverting her to how she used to be with a few tweaks. The biggest thing is when you're on hook, you can no longer get condemn stacks. The condemn isn't global, it's 16 meters from the TV, and there's no teleport cooldown, so you can just constantly teleport if you want. The other thing is they are increasing the invisibility while you're when you demanifest by 0.2 seconds, which is basically the add-on. The watch, they're just adding that to base kit, which is fine. I don't really play Onryo much, but a lot of Onryos I've talked to said this is a great change overall, and they're really going to enjoy it. And I hope she's not as frustrating. Onryo is a character that I don't play often, and when I do, I somehow manage to get a 3K by barely even playing the game. And yeah, I just kind of teleport around, and eventually I get a kill. Yeah, this is a good change. This is a good change. I'm glad behavior stepped back from this. I'm glad that, and with the next killer we're going to be talking about, I think this is proving behavior is willing to walk back on things, which is something in the past that they were not oftentimes willing to do. Speaking of walking back on things, we have Hillbilly. Shout out to Deadly Naya, because she basically predicted not like this exact mechanic. It's really funny. Good for her, though. Good for her. So they're getting rid of overheat. Good. And what they're doing is adding overdrive. So basically, when you're, instead of overheating, if you constantly charge the chainsaw, you will now go into overdrive mode, which increases the charge speed of your chainsaw by 5%, increases the movement speed by 13 meters a second, which the base is 9.5 from what I've been told. And the sprint cooldown is reduced by 10%. So just a bunch of buffs. Great. And it lasts for 20 seconds. It's good. It's great. The one problem I have with this is I think it means people are going to be constantly revving their chainsaw, which can be fun, but on certain maps, even with the collision thing they said they're changing, I think it's going to be very annoying. I don't think this is going to fix Billy's problem with certain maps. I don't think there's really any way to do that without completely changing how the killer works. And I think that's just a symptom of the game. There's really not much they can do about that. I think it's fine. I think the idea of some killers not working, being good on some maps is perfectly okay. They're increasing the collision, increasing the base chainsaw movement speed by 10%, which is on top of that 13 meters a second. So I can't do the math in my head right now, but it's 9.5 plus 10% of that. I don't know if it's additive or multiplicative. Regardless, it's faster at base, and it's faster when you're in overdrive, which is cool. I like that. They also said there's an add-on patch. We won't see that till the PTB, which is fine, I think. I have a feeling engravings are probably going to get nerfed from this, but we'll see. Next is Blights. Also, really, really good changes. I like every single one of these changes. And they didn't touch the add-ons I use for the turn rate, which is my bias coming out, but I'm really glad for that, because I suck at Blight, and whenever I have to play him for a daily, I'm just glad I had those add-ons to rely on. Call me a shitter all you want, but yeah. So, Blighted Crow and Rat, they are having the speed on both of them, which is good. I'm curious how much it's really going to change, because if you take both, you're still not getting the same amounts you would have from just bringing Crow, which is interesting, but you get more than you would have from just bringing Rat. So I'm curious if like the watermelon builds will still be a thing. They probably won't, considering the Eries got changed as well, and we'll see that down at the bottom. Adrenaline Vial, it no longer decreases the time to recharge a token, and it no longer increases your rush speed. So it's back to the way it used to be, pretty much, which is fine. Adrenaline Vial is one of those ones that you didn't have to be super good at Blight, but once you like got used to the turn rate, it was insane, because seven rushes is crazy. Speaking of which, once again, we're going to get to an Eerie add-on, and I'll explain to you the difference, and basically the biggest difference is the rushing, the speed, and the cooldown. Thank you, Windows, for telling me I have my virus security. I appreciate it. Alchemist Ring increases restoration by 20% for each rush. Here's the funny thing, because I was about to say this add-on got nerfed into the ground. It did, but that's fine. I think everyone's happy with this. Most Blight players thought like Alchemist Ring needed to be nerfed. Adrenaline Vial and Alchemist Ring are probably the two biggest contenders to be nerfed, and I'm glad they hit them as hard as they did. Oh well, Adrenaline Vial really didn't get hit too hard, but I think these two changes are perfectly okay and bring Blight more in line. Now the Iridescent add-ons. Pound 33. Each consecutive rush, which is longer than 4 meters, increases your turn rate by 33%. That just sounds fun. And I think that's the thing I like about these Eerie changes. Both of these add-ons just sound super fun. They don't sound super broken, at least not yet, until someone finds some super tech that lets you like insta-down everybody. But yeah, I like this. I like this. I think on bigger maps this is going to be really cool, and it's each consecutive. So if you have 5 tokens, you're you're going to be like, if you combine this with well, no, actually Adrenaline Vial basically counters it out. You get about 10%. Actually, that's interesting. But basically, if you're rushing 5 times, it's 33 times 5, which is what, 33, 66, 66 times 2. It's 100 and so basically you're like almost doubling your turn rate, which is fucking nuts. And I can't wait to see some fucking clips with this build, with this add-on. It's gonna be great. Iridescent Blight Tag enables rush to be performed without spending tokens. Rush bonuses are capped after 3 consecutive rushes. Blighted Corruption goes on cooldown for 20 seconds after a successful lethal rush. So I'm going to take this bit by bit because, honestly, I think I'm still confused on exactly what this means, but I know a lot of other people are as well. So enables rush to be performed without spending a token. You can just rush forever. There's no tokens at all. You can just keep going until you hit somebody. The rush bonuses have been capped at 3, so that would be things like Blighted Crow and Blighted Rat. So after 3 rushes, you don't get the increases anymore. But I would assume that also means like aura reading and stuff from compound, is it 21? Whichever one does the aura reading. So yeah, so that wouldn't happen after the 3rd one. I don't know what the aura reading one would. That'd be good to test. I hope someone does test that. And Blighted Corruption goes on cooldown for 20 seconds after a successful lethal rush attack. So basically, once you hit somebody, it goes on cooldown for 20 seconds. The base is 10, if you're curious. So that means that you're basically doubling your cooldown for the ability to just constantly rush. I love this. I love this so much because it means Blights are just going to be fucking running this and just rushing everywhere. There's no downtime to rushing. They're just going to keep going forever and ever and ever and ever. And the thing about that cooldown, by the way, it says 20 seconds after a successful lethal rush attack, which means if you just get pallet stunned or some shit, it won't stop it. It won't put it on cooldown because you didn't consume a rush token. This add-on is going to be so much fun. Once again, I hope it doesn't get like abused in some way, but looking at it on paper and from how it sounds, I cannot wait for this. Okay, perks. All right. First one's my baby. Anyone who's been to my stream, by the way, that's below. Shameless plug. Anyone's heard me talk about this perk, I love Save the Best for Last. It is my favorite perk in the game. I run it on so many killers. Killers you probably shouldn't run it on. I run it on Huntress, I run it on Clown, I run it on Trapper, I run it on Hag, I run it on Chucky, I run it on Wesker. I run it on so many killers. And I try not to not use my powers on those killers. I still do. I'm not that focused on getting stacks. So basically what they're doing is they're decreasing the cooldown from 5% to 4%. So that, in essence, is decreasing it by a grand total of 8% at max, which is pretty much putting it in line to where it was at 6 stacks, or 8 stacks prior to the change they did when they added 2 stacks base kit. And 2 tokens are lost when the Obsession loses a health state by any means. So I like this change. As a Save the Best for Last user, I think it was warranted. I think it's good. However, I don't think it's enough, and I don't think it fixes the other main problem. What this fixes is killers that would basically only use their M2s to save stacks on the Obsession. So Demogorgons, Deathslingers, Chuckies, Weskers, things like that. Which is understandable. And I'm glad that that's fixed to a degree. This also means that if the survivor plot twists, from what we can tell from this, because it says any means, it means you'll lose 2 stacks, which is an interesting counterplay option. The problem. This does not fix the other issue, which is killers that just avoid the Obsession. Now, I'm not saying that the Obsession can't just run in your face and take hits. They can. However, if your Obsession doesn't want to, you're in solo queue, and they're just hiding and not taking chase, or aren't the most coordinated person, the killer's just going to ignore them, tunnel everybody. I'd say tunnel everybody else, but they're just going to completely ignore the Obsession. And now they have more incentive to do it, because no matter what they do, they're going to lose a stack. Or 2 stacks, I should say. So while I like the change, I'm curious to see how it goes, and I hope in a month we don't hear the same people complaining about this perk. I want to let this one sit because I'm probably going to test it out myself, and yeah, I like this change. I just wish there was some way to change the obsession or something to make it so the one person isn't just ignored all match. But yeah, so this is a buff to save the best for last. Not a buff, but it's really only a nerf to Swifts if you're playing against Swifts because they can coordinate the obsession to take hits. And the 4% to 5%, like that was just should have been done a long time ago. Honestly, I don't know why it stayed in the game as long as it did. All right, next is Grim Embrace, perk I've talked about a few times, and a friend of mine, Karn, has also talked about a few times. The first time each survivor is hooked, all generators are blocked for 12 seconds once the killer moves at least 16 meters away from the hook. This is on top of its current effect, which is blocking the generators for 30 seconds after all 4 survivors have been hooked at least once. I like this perk a lot now. I liked Grim Embrace before, but it wasn't good. So that's why I've tried using it, but like there's so many problems with Grim Embrace currently on the build. But I like this. And this is what I was talking about where I think that gen blocking is going to become more prevalent. I don't know if this is going to become super meta. I have a feeling it might on a lot of killers. I think Dredge is going to like this. I think Nurse, Blight, Chucky, any killer who can get away from the hook very easily and isn't like super committed to camping, I think this is going to be great. Now, this won't work with DMS, unfortunately, at least not completely. But I can see some annoyance with that, and also combining this with Deadlocked and Furtive Chase, or not Furtive Chase, Thrilling Tremors. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of gen blocking now, I feel. It's going to be interesting, because I actually think gen blocking is better than gen regression, because your progress isn't going down, it's just being halted. So yeah, we'll see how this goes. I'm probably going to test this one out too, along with the save the best for last changes. Next is Quick Gambit. We've increased the range to 36 meters, was 24. We have reduced the repair speed bonus to 5%, was 8. This is still not going to be a good perk for so many reasons. This perk is just badly designed. It's so badly designed. I get what they were going for, but yeah, it's just, even if they buff this perk to a degree where it's, quote, good, I think it would still be badly designed because of what it encourages. Like, if they made it, like, 120 meters, so, like, it's the whole map, well, then survivors with it would just want to get chased so their teammates can do gens faster. And then it's just not... Yeah, it's just not good design. I have no way of how they're going to fix Quick Gambit, because there's really no way, in my opinion, without completely reworking this perk. It's just a bad design. It just really is. Moving on to Ruin, it no longer disables once the survivor is killed or sacrificed. It's almost like no one was using this perk because of that. Also, I like how they said, in retrospect. Dude, it's been like almost 2 years. What do you mean, in retrospect? And everyone told you once it got changed. Whatever. Hex Ruin is no longer disabled once the survivor is killed or sacrificed. Good. I'm fine with that. I don't know if Ruin's going to become meta anymore, but we'll see. The thing, if it works with Grim Embrace, by the way, I can actually see it becoming meta. Because it's going to force survivors off gens. So you run this with Grim Embrace. Actually, hang on. I need to double check the generator phrasing here. Each generator can only suffer from a maximum, where a regression event is anytime a killer or their perks removes at least 2.5. Okay, so Ruin should still work on gens even after. That's gonna need some testing. That's interesting. If that still works on gens after the regression event, Ruin might actually become pretty good, like in-game wise. I mean, it's a hex perk, so that's gonna be asking a lot. But yeah, I like the change. I'm glad they did it. It should have been a long time ago. Shadowborn. So because they're adding FOV, Shadowborn had to be changed. Ironically, with this, it means that Wraith finally has a good teachable, which is interesting. When blinded by any means, gain a 10% haste for 10 seconds. So once again, someone needs to do some testing on this. I don't know if this works with Lightborn. If it does work with Lightborn, that's going to be the funniest shit alive. If it doesn't, I mean, 10 seconds, 10% for 10 seconds is a long ass time. And I think this is healthier than Lightborn is, because it doesn't completely negate the effect of the flashlight. It just gives you a buff. Like, that's great. Yeah, I don't know. This isn't going to become meta, obviously. Anything that involves flashlights isn't, but yeah, it's just a nice little thing. I think it's going to be great. If it works with Lightborn, that's going to be very frustrating. I can feel it already. But, you know, moments I can see this working out are like at pallets when you get flashlight blinded. Right after a save, because you get stunned for like 2 seconds, so you still get 8 seconds of that 10% haste, so you can catch the guy you just dropped. Yeah, like, I like this change. I don't know if I'm going to run Shadowborn. Obviously, if I see a bunch of flashlights, maybe, but we'll see. Monitor abuse, they're not changing it, they're just removing the FOV thing, which is fine, I think. I don't think I was expecting them to really add anything to monitor and abuse. I'm kind of cool with it being like that. The idea of a perk that just lowers your terror radius but also raises it in certain situations, cool. And, you know, like I said, it allows for niche playstyles, so yeah. Ormond updates. Okay, I'm not going to read this whole thing. All I'm going to say is the way they're describing it, this makes Ormond sound way worse than it already is, at least for a killer player. Basically, they're saying they're adding a bunch of loops to the front and back of the building. Which, okay. I don't know why you're doing that, but okay. I swear if we get another Garden of Joy situation with this map, I am going to be very upset. But yeah. Last is game modifiers. They said it's not going to be on the PTB, but their first limited modifier for Dead by Daylight Lights Out will be available to play in the coming months. We still don't know what this is. A lot of people are assuming it's a new game mode of some kind, and a lot of people are also assuming it's going to be something like Nightfall at all times, or being able to find, or survivors can only see with flashlights or something like that. I don't know. I'm interested to see what it is. I hope it's fun and unique, and that's really the biggest thing. So here's the thing, if it's a Nightfall one, I can guarantee you survivors will not want to play it. That's going to be a problem. Yeah. Who's the one guy who didn't find this helpful? I'm sorry, I'm reading the bottom there where it says what was his argument. Anyways, so it's a patch. Overall, I am very happy with this patch. I want to see more patches like this, and hopefully the March update is the same. We'll see. The Hillbilly changes has me very excited for the other killer changes we're getting, because they didn't say rework for Hillbilly, and this isn't a rework. It's just, you know, some cleaning up and changing around some things. And that means the other killers are probably going to get something similar to this. That would include Hag and the others, Huntress, that I can't, yeah. I don't know why Huntress is on that list still, but yeah, whatever. If it's something like this, I'm actually kind of cool with it. If they're like adding a mechanic to Huntress to make her more fun, more engaging, I'm here for it. Yeah. Overall, good patch. Like, there's nothing in this patch I'm like desperately like shaking my fist at. A lot of it I'm really happy to test in the coming weeks. And I just hope that none of this backfires. Because this game has a history with that sometimes when they change things. But we'll see. In any case, I love you guys. I appreciate all the support I get. We're coming up on 650 subs, which is insane to me. Tomorrow will be the first interview a killer video. I was going to post it today, but the patch came out because I can't plan things. And yeah, so it's going to get posted tomorrow. It's with Gummy Peach Rings going over Hag, which is interesting because we talked about a few things in here, so some of that's going to age poorly, but it is what it is. Anyways, I love you guys, and yeah, bye!